Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be covering the commonly used TradingView tools that I use for my daily trading. So starting off with the first tool on the list, Arrow tool, you can find that right over here. Click on Arrow. And the main use for this tool is to identify and direct where price is going. So if I think price is going down, I'll draw an arrow going down. And then vice versa, if I think price is going up, I'll draw an arrow up. And that's pretty much the only use that I use for the Arrow tool. Going down to the next tool on the list, which is going to be the horizontal line tool. You can find that right here on this drop down. Horizontal line. There's only two main uses that I use for this tool, and basically you'll see them on the screen typically in the morning. If it's a pink line, that means that I'm using it to identify news price, and then if it's a blue line, I will be using that to identify opening price for that market. So that's pretty much the only use that I use for the horizontal line tool. You can use it for anything else, but that's typically what I use it for. Going down the list to the next tool here, which is the horizontal array tool. You can find that in the same drop down right here. Horizontal array. The main use that I typically use this for is to identify high lows. So I have the high low indicator turned on my chart right now. You can see we have the high, low, etc. Basically, whenever I'm looking for high lows, I'll just draw a horizontal array there so that I can keep track of these high lows that have not been tested yet. So that's the main use for me. Again, you can use this for other things, but for me personally, this is the only thing that I use it for, to identify high lows. Going over to the next tool here is the rectangle tool. So to find this tool here, you can go to this box, geometric shapes, click the drop down and click on rectangle. Typically the rectangle tool will look like this. These are the default settings where you can draw, basically boxes or rectangles anywhere. The way that I personally use it is I go into the settings and I click on extend right so that I can have it extend to the end of the chart. On the right. Basically, the main use that I use for this indicator is to identify either support resistance, zones, or specific areas to avoid. So like basically, if I see this as a resistance, then I'll draw a rectangle right there. And then if I see this as a support, I'll draw a rectangle there as well. And then from that point, I can identify this as a range, right? There's other ways to do it. Like if you guys want to look at like specific price points, I mean, you guys can just use this to identify zones. It's really up to your preference. But again, the only reason I use this tool is really to identify zones, specifically support and resistance. So other than that, let's move on to the next tool here, the circle tool. Circle tool can be found right over here, same box as the rectangle. Click on circle right there. The only use for this really for me is to focus on a specific area. So if I'm looking at a specific area here, I'll go and draw circles around those areas. Again, you can use this for whatever use you guys want to use it for, but this is the main reason that I use it for, just to identify certain areas of focus on the chart. So that's about it with the circle tool. Moving over to the path tool. This is very similar to the arrow tool, but you can draw multiple arrows. So going down to the same area right here, the path tool is going to be located right here. And I do the same thing with this here, right? So for example, if I'm trying to explain how price is trending up, I'll draw a first arrow there. And then when you click, it'll allow you to continue the drawing. So basically, and you double click and it ends. So basically uptrend, retracement, and correction. That's what I use the path tool for. Again, you guys can use it for whatever you guys want to use it for, but specifically this is all that I use it for. Basically just to show you guys direction. Going over to the next tool here, the long position tool. This tool can be found right over here under prediction and measurement tools. If you click on this drop down, you'll see the long position tool there. For example, if you're looking for a buy, you can mark it up on the chart. It's not necessarily going to enter the trade for you by doing this, but it's just going to be used for markup purposes. So when you set it up like that, you can go over here to inputs, and then you can put your TP right there. Like for example, our typical TP is 100 points or 100 pips and 30 points. That's where you'll set it up. Vice versa. If you're using a bigger TP stop loss, 25, 50. If you're taking something like the breakout, you'll put like 50, 50 or 150, depending on which breakout you're taking. So that's basically all the use that I use for this. It's just, again, for visualization purposes. They're not necessarily going to enter the trades for you, but this here is just going to help you forecast, where price is likely to go. So that's the long position tool. And then if you're looking for a sell, you'll do the opposite, right? So instead of using the long tool, you'll use the short tool right here. And then same thing, you can go and change your inputs depending on your entry. And it's pretty simple. That's pretty much all it's used for. Next tool on the list is going to be the price range tool. So again, you can use this to measure things. Price range tool can be found in the same dropdown. It's price range right here. So for example, if you're looking at what price is moving, you can, if you want to just go from like the high to the low, how I typically do, I'll draw that and you're like, okay, this has been moving, 400 pips or so. You just use this to identify the range. That's the main use I use it for. But again, there's a lot of different uses for these tools. It just depends on what you want to use it for. But for me personally, I just use this to identify the range sometimes. Like for example, if I think price is ranging around this area, I'll draw a range there, and then I'll draw price range to see. Like, all right, it's moving like 500 pips. So, is it enough volatility for me to take the trade? Maybe, maybe not. And that's pretty much the use of the price range tool. The next tool on the list is going to be the measure tool. It's very similar to the price range tool, except it's just used for quicker markup. So like, for example, if you want to see how far the swing high is from here, you just draw on the chart and you're like, okay, swing high is about 400 pips. And that's pretty much the main use of the measure tool for me. One of these cool other tools that I started using a lot more recently was the magnet tool. So like, for example, if I wanted to draw, a resistance right here, and I just wanted to draw on the wick. So if I wanted to do that, I'll click on this magnet tool right here, use the rectangle tool, and I'll draw on the top and then connect it to the bottom. This right here will make it a perfect zone. And then, for example, below here, if I want to do the same thing with the low, I'll do the same thing, open the rectangle tool, click on the magnet, click on the bottom, and then you can see that the cursor automatically latches to these specific price points. So it gives you a perfect zone right there. And that's pretty much all I use the magnet tool for. The other tool here is the stay in drawing mode. So like, for example, if I'm looking up all of the high lows that have not been tested, I'll use this in conjunction with the magnet tool and the stay in drawing mode. If you do this here, every time you click, it's going to use the tool that you set it to. So instead of having to draw on the line tool, horizontal rate tool, like 5 or 6 times, I just leave it on and I draw all my high lows right there. And that's about it. The last tool on the list is going to be the trash tool. If you guys want to take everything off the chart, just click on this trash button right here. If you want to remove your drawings, click on that. If you want to remove your indicators, click on that. Remove everything, click on this. Click on the drawings, and there you go, everything's gone. So, all right, guys, that's it with this video here. Obviously, there's a lot of tools that you guys can use. You guys can refer back to the full video, which will also be shared, in the module. Otherwise, this is pretty much all you really need to know for the daily trading. So, all right, guys, see you guys in the next video.